Hello, my loves. Welcome to bonus episode 3. Today I wanted to go a little deeper into something that was bothering me. It was a situation I experienced that left me really physically affected, and I had like endorphins flooding my system. This episode is really about processing emotional and physical responses to conflict. So after the incident, I noticed my body was in full stress response mode. I was so upset and shaking. The adrenaline rush was pretty intense, and I recognized it as my trauma response kicking in to keep me safe. This is how our body is supposed to respond. Like, it's a natural thing, and if this happens to you, if you can have the awareness that your body's just trying to keep you safe, you come at the situation with so much more compassion. And what's interesting, when our body responds this way, we typically become more reactive, okay? So instead of my typical conflict avoidant behavior, which I spoke about in the last couple episodes, I'm going to get snappier. I'm going to get more likely to stand up for myself, almost combative as I change my behavior and become better at overcoming those old habits, my old programming. So I want you to understand this mental versus physical split, really, because mentally I wanted to tell myself, I'm fine. My thoughts felt relatively calm and controlled, but my body didn't. And that's what's important that we need to notice. I was starting to loop into creating more drama in my mind because of how my body was reacting. And in my mind, truly, I was telling myself, this isn't that bad. But recognizing that pattern allowed me to catch it and then shift so much more quickly. So anytime you're struggling with a frustrating situation, if you can have that awareness of how you typically respond and how you want to respond, and begin doing the actions that are more aligned with how you want to be. So that's really the key here. And one of the coping strategies that is pretty helpful to use in a situation where your body is responding like this, or if whatever your typical trauma response is, I see disassociation happening sometimes with my clients with trauma. Sometimes it's really more with the kids that I support. To help my body settle and process the extra endorphins, in this situation, I used a distraction technique. So I turned on an emotionally powerful song and really let myself get into it. And at one point, it actually made me tear up because I was allowing my feelings to move through me. I was allowing the emotion, the feeling to be processed effectively. If you have tears, that's a good sign that the emotion is moving through you. So totally let that happen. That's a good thing. And I've spoken in the past about how we sometimes not suppress, but mask anger. Anger comes in layers and it's multi-layered. So it encompasses other emotions like fear and sadness. But because anger often feels more socially acceptable than fear, especially in people displaying more of their masculine, it's really the fear or sadness that's driving it, and anger is sometimes more socially accepted for some people. So it's easier to express anger than to face the vulnerability underneath it which is typically fear, and then even sadness underneath that. And that's what I was allowing myself to feel in this moment. Instead of shutting down with my trauma response, I used that music as a distraction tool to actually allow the emotion to move through me in a more manageable way. I think if I didn't use a coping skill, I wouldn't have been able to let the emotions naturally surface and just let me feel what I was feeling, because it was painful. It's hard. So when I talk about distraction techniques, it's purposeful and it's to help us process what we need to process. It's not to ignore. And I want to remind you that your body keeps the score with whatever you're feeling. So while the emotional release through the tears was helpful, my physical body was still struggling, and the shaking and the adrenaline were unpleasant reminders that, yeah, you've still got these emotions stored in your body that need to come out. And I know that the physical response is my system's way of protecting me based on past trauma, but I'm still working on how to help my body handle those intense emotional moments more effectively. And sometimes it can take years to peel back the layers and let yourself feel the emotions that you've previously not processed. And maybe you've buried them like me. So the song that I used as a distraction tool was emotional. A lot of music is, right? It's emotionally charged. So while it helped me process some of the feelings, I'm still exploring better ways to supporting my physical body through episodes and moments like this, because again, your mind can tell you one thing, but man, my body wasn't matched up. So that's kind of the lesson that I wanted to share in this episode, is a reminder that we have these different aspects of ourselves. There's spiritual, there's physical, you've got the spirit, the body, and the mind. And it was so interesting for me to have that. Like, even though it was a bad situation, it taught me something. I allowed it to be a lesson for me and help me realize all parts of myself weren't in alignment, and I still have a lot of healing to do, and that's okay. It's okay for it to be a lifelong process of becoming the person you want to be. And that's where the power lies. So if you are someone who has experienced any type of trauma or difficult situation, remember that you can choose to no longer be a victim. You can choose to take control and see your emotions as a part of you, and accept that part of yourself, even though they're hard, even though it's difficult. I'm not saying healing is an easy process. I'm not saying having effective behaviors or coping strategies is always easy, but it's the healthiest thing for you. That is what leads you to the mental and emotional wellness that your highest self desires for you. So keep taking those baby steps towards who you want to be. Who do you want to show up in the world as? And keep that in the forefront of your mind. And then you can use that almost as motivation to help you to choose a more effective behavior, choose a tool, choose self-compassion, choose forgiveness, especially self-forgiveness. So I'm sorry I couldn't explain what the situation was that triggered me into this trauma response, but it's not even important, because all of us have difficult situations that occur, and sometimes your body just isn't going to handle it well. It was so interesting. So I hope this gives you some sort of hopefulness. Sorry to use that word twice in one sentence, but I do want this to serve you and give you some hope that you can work through the things. And it's a process. It's not necessarily a destination, but keep working towards who you want to be and have compassion with yourself in those moments of intense physical and emotional responses to conflict. That's a part of life, and we can keep handling it better. We can keep choosing better. So, take so much care of yourselves. I love you guys. Cope well.